Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. Coming up here on today's show, the top 5 position battles that every single Raider fan needs to be watching this offseason, whether it's OTAs, whether it's mandatory minicamp, whether it's training camp. These are the top 3 position battles that I know I have my eyes on to make sure that you never miss anything. Get daily Raiders videos on the latest news and rumors. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on those notifications. That way, anytime we drop some Raiders news, you don't miss it. So we're not going to have these ranked in any particular way. I'm just going to go through the 5 names of these position battles, and that way we can connect the dots here. First position, though, that I'm going to be looking at is outside linebacker. As it stands right now, Robert Spillane is going to be the main middle linebacker in this Raiders defense. They gave him a contract at 2 years, $9 million. People who I talk to say that he is going to be wearing the green dot, which means he's essentially the quarterback on defense. In terms of the outside linebacker position, though, to me, Divine Diablo has the upper hand. He's the player that this Raiders team wants to make this work with. Unfortunately for him, he's had injury concerns. He hasn't proven himself in coverage all that well, which does leave the door open for last season UDFA Luke Masterson out of Wake Forest, who, when he got his opportunities to play at times, I thought he did an okay job. Now, okay for a UDFA, right? Like, I don't want Luke Masterson to be my main outside linebacker for this upcoming season. He had 59 tackles. He had 4 tackles for loss. He's a versatile player. He's a safety / linebacker hybrid, if you will. Another player to keep in mind, you're going to be like, well, wait a minute, he's not even a linebacker. You're right. It's Isaiah Polomeo. According to reports, according to the people that I trust, he's going to be playing a safety linebacker hybrid. He was a surprise player to make the 53-man roster last season. That probably was the 53rd player to do it. He has added close to 20 pounds this offseason. The Raiders like his ability to tackle. So because of that, I'm going to be looking who starts at outside linebacker, but also even on top of that, what the Raiders decide to do with some of those bottom roster players, like a Darian Butler. Unfortunately, I think for him, he's going to be on the way out. My question, since we're talking about linebackers right now, what defense are the Raiders going to play more of this upcoming season? And if this is another language to you, I'll explain it real quick. 4-3, 4 defensive linemen, 3 linebackers. 4-2-5, 4 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, 5 defensive backs. Those are some defenses. So we're going to make this the pinned comment on today's show, and I'm going to give you my answer after you get hit with this YouTube ad break. My guess is right now, based on what this Raiders defense looks like, I will continue to say that 4-2-5 is the defense that I would run if I was Patrick Graham based on the skill position players that we have. We have a lot more talented defensive backs than we do linebackers. The Raiders, as it stands, arguably have the worst linebacker room in the entire NFL. So if they want to go out and add a Kyle Van Noy, you want to go out and add a Rashawn Evans, like, you need to add some extra linebacking depth, talent, heck, starter on this team. Let's go to the next position battle here on the Raiders Report presented by Bird Dogs. It's right guard. And you could even make the argument that I could say the entire offensive line not at left tackle, because besides Colton Miller, I can look at every single one of y'all and I can make a legitimate argument on who could be a starting left guard, who could be the starting center, who could be the starting right guard, who could be the starting right tackle. But because the Raiders have so many players that have different versatility and can play multiple spots on the offensive line, you're going to see a lot of battles. The reason why I'm talking about right guard, though, is because the Raiders recently, they signed Greg Van Roten, and to me, he can be a starter. He can play left guard. He can play right guard. He even started at center a few games last season. So if you want to move on from Andre James and save some money, if you want to put Dylan Parham in at center where the Raiders originally scouted him at the Senior Bowl, if you want to put Dylan Parham at right guard, because there's a lot of NFL scouts that think that that's his main position, you can do all of that. With Alex Bars, another player that, a lot of people, myself included, have put on the back burner. Do I think Barr should be a starting offensive lineman on any NFL team? No, I do not. But the Raiders obviously viewed that differently. When I interviewed Jermaine Eluemunor, he said Bars is your starting right guard. So you're going to have multiple players battling it out. And then before Van Roten ended up signing with this team, I would have said, hell, Netane Muti could be a player to keep in mind to start at right guard. Another guy, McClendon Curtis, the UDFA, who is a going to be a really, really sneaky player from top to bottom. But what if the Raiders say, okay, we don't love our guard play, but we do like Jermaine Eluemunor, who's got the connection with Carmen Brasillo. You kick Jermaine Eluemunor in at right guard, and then you can have somebody else play offensive tackle. Maybe a Thayer Munford, maybe a Brandon Parker, maybe a Justin Murray, a Justin Hearn, who they traded for. All I'm saying is the right side of the offensive line in general for the Raiders should be something that every single Raiders fan keeps their eyes on. Something that I've had my eyes on. No, I'm not talking about these shorts here. I'm talking about the deal we got going on right now thanks to our awesome sponsor, Bird Dogs. And if you like these shorts, heck, I got them on right now. No joke. These shorts are amazing. Use promo code CHAT at birddogs.com. As someone who loves looking good and feeling confident, I'm excited to share my personal experience with our brand new sponsor, Bird Dogs. These shorts and pants have truly changed the game for me. The fit is unparalleled. I have never felt better in any other clothing item. Not only do they make me look great, but they're so comfortable that I can wear them all day without looking and feeling restricted. Plus, the stretchy fabric hugs my legs in all the right places. When I think about shorts, when I think about pants, I want three things. I want fit, I want comfort, and I want versatility. If the pants don't fit me and I can barely move, I'm not going to end up wearing them. In terms of comfort, when I sit down, I don't want somebody to be looking at me and they can just see the outline of everything I got working here. The great part about these shorts are they fit you great, and the amount that you can move in them is unbelievable. The shorts that I have on right now, I wore them out to dinner, which brings me to my last point again. It's the versatility. I wore them out to dinner when I was in Cancun. I wore them to go swimming. I wore them to the beach. I wore them to work out. The versatility that these shorts have is unparalleled. So if you're really ready to elevate your wardrobe with Bird Dogs, click the link in the description and the comments, or go to birddogs.com, and when you enter promo code CHAT, they're going to throw in a free Yeti-style tumbler with every order. I'm also a big believer in when I look at a sponsor or when I look at a product, I want something that fits me. Like when I wear it, I'm like, all right, yeah, I can get down. And Bird Dogs, they got my sense of humor, which I definitely appreciate. So the short names that you're about to see here up on screen are the actual short names on their website for Bird Dogs. So you can get the Coach Cockburn, you can get the Tightwads, which I own the Tightwads, or you can get the Art Fart Knockers. My question to you is, if you're on Bird Dogs, which I know all y'all are going to go to birddogs.com and use promo code CHAT after this, which shorts would you get? Would you get the Coach Cockburns Type C? Would you get the Tightwads Type D or Type D, or the Art Fart Knockers Type A? For me personally, I own the Tightwads. But hey, I'm also about the CTA. So go check them out, birddogs.com, promo code CHAT. Let's go to the next position battle here. It's cornerback. And when I look at corner, I look at the starters, and then I'm also going to look at the bottom level roster players that might make the 53, that might not make the 53-man roster. As it stands right now, I believe that there are certain locks at positions, and I'll also say that I know that they like Duke Shelley. Nate Hobbs is obviously going to be a player here. The Raiders signed David Long Jr., but just because they signed David Long Jr., that doesn't necessarily make him a lock. I mean, shit, the player the Raiders signed last season, the first signing they had was Darius Phillips, cornerback. He didn't even make the 53-man. If you were to ask me, okay, who are the locks at corner? I got 4 names for you. Nate Hobbs, locked to make the team. Duke Shelley, he's going to impress people, locked to make the team. Jakorian Bennett, the Raiders traded up for him, locked to make the team. And then I'm going to go with Brandon Facyson. And the reason why I'm going to bring him up is because the Raiders gave him, I want to say, $3.2 million guaranteed. They like him a lot. I'm not as crazy on Brandon Facyson as some other people are, but from what I understand, the Raiders are. So these are the 4 players that are locks. Now, I do want to talk about Tyler Hall, because Tyler Hall is going to be a sneaky player that's going to earn more and more love as OTAs, as training camp, as all the mandatory minicamps start rolling on, because he's a good slot player. And he has the opportunity to start this upcoming season in the slot, which then kicks, guess who? Nate Hobbs to the outside. You're going to keep Duke Shelley on the outside, which then makes it a little bit more interesting for David Long. If the Raiders say, no, we're probably going to keep Nate Hobbs in at slot where he excelled as a rookie, David Long then could get some extra snaps as an outside corner. And if you just looked at my depth chart there, I have David Long as the potential other outside starting cornerback. In terms of the corners on the roster bubble, these are the remaining names. You got Amik Robertson, Sam Webb, Bryce Cosby, Azizi Hearn, Ike Brown, Jordan Perryman. To me, when I look at this list, you can probably only keep one. You're only going to end up keeping one. Is that going to be Sam Webb? Is that going to be Amik Robertson? No disrespect to the other players that are on screen. At best, to me, that they're going to be practice squad guys for the silver and black. So what about this? I just showed you every single Raiders corner. And if they go out and they sign somebody, that makes this cornerback room even more interesting to be able to break down and deliberate about. So which three corners get the most playing time in 2023? I want y'all to get a little bit ballsy with me. I want you to look into your crystal balls, which feel great inside of a set of bird dogs. And I want you to tell me which three corners get the most playing time. I might go with a little bit of a off-the-wall answer to some. But you know what? This is what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Nate Hobbs, Duke Shelley, and yeah, I'm going to surprise some people here with Tyler Hall. The Raiders like Tyler Hall a lot. And it's a name that if you don't follow this show, if you don't follow other Raiders reporters or other, Raiders YouTube channels, you might not know the name. He is a good slot corner, and I'm excited to see what he does this upcoming season with another year underneath his belt in the Patrick Graham system. Let's go to wide receiver here on the Raiders Board, presented by Bird Dogs. I'm looking at wide receiver because this might be the deepest position that the Raiders have. Like, in terms of Devontae, Myers, you're good there. Like, there's no need to even bring these guys up. However, anything after that is a question mark. If I have come up on this show the amount of times that I have, and I've said Hunter Renfrow is going to get either traded or I don't think he gets cut, but I think he ends up getting dealt. Well, what does that mean then for Trey Tucker? What does that mean for DeAndre Carter? The Raiders, they signed Phillip Dorsett. Keelan Cole made the team last season. Tyler Johnson actually has already been moved on from. You got Sims, big-time receiver. Lacey, bigger receiver. DJ Turner offers you some other versatility. But for, Renfrow, which is the conversation here, if Renfrow stays on the team, obviously he's a lock to make it. He's the third best player, third best receiver. If Renfrow, though, is gone, well, now the Raiders have wide receiver 3 up for grabs. Wide receiver 3 up for grabs, your slot, which could be between Trey Tucker, who the Raiders drafted at 100 overall in round 3 of this past draft. And he's got a lot of ties to Josh McDaniels, got a lot of ties to Dave Ziegler. They grew up 15 minutes apart from each other. Ziegler's talked about how he loved watching Tucker in high school, right? Like, loved the fact that he was a wrestler. He was a competitor. Then you got DeAndre Carter, who offers you just as much special teams value as he does on the field value. And he's coming off probably not even arguably, the best season that he's ever had as a professional on the Chargers against us, division rival. 46 catches, 538 yards, 3 touchdowns. So I'm going to be looking at that wide receiver 3 battle, but then I'm also going to be looking at which bottom of the roster guys end up making it. I'm going to bet on Phillip Dorsett. Does Keelan Cole? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, the bottom of the roster here for the Raiders at wide receiver is definitely going to be one to be looked at. All right, we got one more position battle, but hey, I got a battle going on Saturday, June 10th, 5 p.m., in Las Vegas up against Jermaine Eluemunor, the hot wings eating contest. The location is at Barcode Burgers. Look it up. It will cost money to get in, but the proceeds are going to go to a charity. So please, the Greater Youth Sports Association, there's going to be other Raiders players there, other Raiders content creators there. If you were at my event last year, this year is going to be way, way bigger. So please go check it out. If you need more details, it's also on my IG at MitchellRenz365. Let's go to the final position battle that I'm going to be keeping a close eye on this offseason. Defensive tackle. How does the defensive tackle room look for the Raiders? To me, the only guy that's locked in as a starter is Bilal Nichols. And Bilal dealt with some injuries last season before the year started. He was dealing with a meniscus, and I do think he looked pretty slow to start the year. But as the season went on, he did get better. So Bilal's your top defensive tackle. But then the Raiders, they drafted Byron Young. You re-signed Jerry Tillery. After that, there are a lot of unknowns. And if you were to say, okay, who are the roster bubble candidates? It's these 4 players right here. John Jenkins, Matthew Butler, Nesta, Jade, Silvera, who they drafted in round 7, and then Adam Butler. Like, I can make a legitimate argument why each of these players could get cut. I can make a legitimate argument of why the Raiders would keep each of these defensive tackles. The defensive tackle room is very, very open right now, so make sure you're watching on who is going to be competing for that final spot here on this roster. So one more time here are the position battles that all of y'all should be checking out. Outside linebacker, right guard, corner, wide receiver, and defensive tackle. But maybe there's a position that I'm leaving you hanging on, right? Because we did just get the Jimmy Garoppolo news. There's going to be some people out there like, well, Mitch, I want to be watching Brian Hoyer. I want to be watching Aiden O'Connell. Which position battle are you looking at the most this offseason? Is it tight end? Who's going to be better, Austin Hooper, Michael Mayer? Is it going to be safety? Some of y'all probably think it's Trevon Merrick. It's not. Shout out to Husker, one of the legends here on the Raiders Report. A lot of different positions. So just curious what you guys have to say. Which position battle are you looking forward to the most this upcoming offseason?